WCAB Sweetwater is 880 The Biz, where money talks. A service of Salem Media Group and part of the Wall Street Business Network. On Twitter at 880 The Biz.
The following program is sponsored by Robert Henderson.
Welcome to the American Cream Show, providing you insight on how to achieve the American dream with cream. Credit, real estate, entrepreneurship, assets, and mindset. And now, here's your host of the American Cream, Hyacinth Henderson.
Okay. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Hello, 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 everybody. I still hear the music. All right. Happy Friday, everyone. It is your host, Hyacinth Henderson. You're listening to the American Cream Radio Show. I am broadcasting live, not from Miami, Florida today. I'm actually calling in from Atlanta. So I am tapping in by way of technology. I'm doing a show from Atlanta, but you're listening to me on 880 AM The Biz. The name of the radio show is The American Cream, where we discuss how to redefine the American dream on your terms with cream. And cream stands for credit, real estate, entrepreneurship, assets, and mindset. And I'm your host, Hyacinth Henderson. You can catch me each and every Friday night at 6 p.m. right here. If you are on social media, be sure to catch me live on Facebook, on social media. That's Hyacinth Henderson as well. Visit my website, do all those things that stay connected. As I stated, I'm in Atlanta. I came up here for training, for a speaker training, a 2-day speaker training. And I found it interesting. Almost everyone who knows that I came to Atlanta for training. First of all, I don't really tell people where I'm going, so I don't tell my business. But when it came up, where are you going, Atlanta? Well, what are you doing in Atlanta? I'm doing speaker training. I got funny looks and funny comments from everyone about why I would be taking a speaker training. And I thought that was very interesting. And I wanted to mention it on tonight's show because it is always, always important for you to sharpen your tools. It doesn't matter how much you think you know. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. You can never lose by sharpening your tools, right? The worst thing that can happen is you're going to continue to get better and better and better. So right now I'm broadcasting live in my hotel in Atlanta. I actually cut out about 30 minutes early so I could come up here, ground myself, and prepare for the show. I am happy to be here, happy to learn the new tools and just new, thought processes and things like that so that I can continue to be a speaker and elevate my speaking game as well. Now, if you joined me last week on the American Cream Radio Show, we had a good time. We got a little bit excited. And the topic that I intended to talk about kind of carried over. So this is part 2 of last week's show. So if you didn't catch last week's show, please, please, please go to YouTube and catch it. You can type in Hyacinth Henderson on YouTube. You'll search the date. I believe last Friday was 9/6, and you'll be able to catch up on that show because it'll tie it into today's show. So last week we started discussing assets and asset protection, right? So as we talked about, the fact that we are creating our own cream. We're redefining the American dream with cream on our terms. And we started talking about assets and liabilities and protection. And as many of you may know, but I'll remind you, September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. And some people, have negative connotations that deal with life insurance. And we went over those last week. I'm not going to go into details about those because I don't want to lose track of time like I did last week. But we did talk about term life insurance. We spoke about whole life insurance. And I discussed it in such a way that you were able to reprogram your mind to understand it. Forget the insurance aspect of it, because we know that nobody wants to talk about insurance. We have people comment and say they don't want to talk about or think about transitioning or dying, whatever your term is. They didn't want to think about that. They didn't want to see themselves paying money for something they couldn't use at the moment. So I gave various examples, and I gave the differences between term insurance, whole life insurance, and I left off right before we could get into index universal life insurance. And I call that the big daddy. We call that big daddy, granddaddy, the big kahuna, whatever your term is. And thinking about something that my father, certified financial planner, founder, president, and CEO of the Henderson Financial Group, used to always say is that good, better, best, never let them rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. So good would be term insurance. Better would be whole life insurance. Best, depending on your need, of course, because I'm not giving a blanket recommendation as a registered representative and things like that. I'm not giving any blanket advice, but the next level, the big daddy, the granddaddy, that's going to offer you asset protection. It's going to offer you liquidity. It's going to offer you use and control. And it's also going to protect your loved ones in the event of your untimely transition is index universal life insurance. Now, I like to paint pictures and use visuals and things like that so that you can get and understand what an index universal life insurance is. So if you hear the term IUL, I don't want you to think of that as right now, if I say IUL, you're thinking this is a foreign language. Hyacinth, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what an IUL is. Sit tight. I'm going to break it down. An index universal life insurance is a life insurance policy that allows you to use it while you're alive and allows your loved ones to have a benefit when you get ready to transition. So let me just bring in last week's conversation a little bit. Term life insurance, I said, is like renting an apartment. When you rent an apartment, all you get is somewhere to stay. That's not your property. You can't refinance and take any cash out. You can't really paint the walls, put holes in the walls without permission from the landlord. It strictly offers you somewhere to live and a roof over your head. That's what term insurance is if I'm using the example as an apartment. Term insurance just offers you pure death protection. Everybody needs life insurance if you have children, if you have responsibilities, if you have people who depend on your income. And if you find yourself in a position to where you can't afford the big granddaddy, then we're going to at least start you with term. That is like saying, I need a roof over my head and I cannot afford to buy right now. So I'm going to rent this apartment. But you're going to do it for a short period of time with the understanding and the plan that when the term expires, you're then going to make another move, right? Okay, so term insurance, temporary, pure insurance. That's good. The next level, better, will be whole life insurance. And with whole life insurance, it also provides a level of protection, right? Death protection is what we call it. I call it transition because, depends on what you believe. But for the moment where you leave this body, it's going to give you some insurance. And then also, whole life has really come a long way. Whole life is not what it was years ago, but whole life now, depending on who you go to, which agent, and at the Henderson Financial Group, we trump up our whole life policies to make it kind of like a super duper whole life policy, right? So the policies are all our life insurance policies between whole life and index universal life. What we do is it's kind of like you going to the car lot and just buying a Honda Civic or Honda Accord off the lot, right? So when you bring it to the Henderson Financial Group, we add some bells and whistles on it. We add the motors, the pipes, all those fancy things. So when you pull up next to a regular Honda Civic at the stoplight and y'all get ready to take off, your Honda Civic is trumped up. So it may look the same on the outside, but you have some extra stuff and bells and whistles that has been customized so that although it looks just like a regular Honda, it's going to do what it's supposed to do and even more. That's how we build our whole life policies at the Henderson Financial Group. And the reason why we build them that way is because, number one, we love the fact that you can build cash value, but we found a way to legally add some bells and whistles to the policy so that you can take money out of that whole life policy almost immediately to do the things that you need to do. We'll get back to that on a different show. Today, we're talking about IULs. IULs is different from whole life in that, okay, whole life is also fixed. The returns on whole life are going to be fixed. It's not tied to the market. It's just your safe money. Your whole life policy is going to give you a higher rate of return than what your bank account does. You say, Hyacinth, what are you talking about? A higher rate of return. If you pull up your bank statement after you finish listening to the American Cream, I want you to go online, pull up your statement, look at your checking or savings account, and find out how much the bank is paying you for you having your money deposited with them. Most of when you open your bank statements, because you have it at your neighborhood bank that's around the corner, the interest rate that your bank is paying you on an annual basis is less than 1%. Most banks are paying you less than 0.5%. So thinking about the fact that you deposit your money into these banks and your money just sits there and they loan it out without giving you interest, I want you to keep that in mind. What we do with whole life is we add some bells and whistles on it. We make it that souped up Honda Civic so that you deposit your money in the whole life policy. You get the death benefit and you also build up cash value, but we do it at a 4% interest rate. So even if you don't plan on dying tomorrow, right? You don't plan on transitioning. You like, I'm good. I'm vegan around this thing. I'm doing cardio 5 days a week. Even if you do not have an immediate need, or if you don't feel like you're going to transition anytime soon, the simple fact that we trump up our whole life policies, we freak the system in such a way that we add bells and whistles that you can dump money into these policies and get a guaranteed 4% interest rate, earn a guaranteed 4% interest rate on your money. That's why we say it's the next step above. Okay, but that's a guarantee. The big daddy, the granddaddy is what we're talking about today. It's the Index Universal Life Policy. And I call it the granddaddy because the granddaddy is kind of like the best of both worlds. It gives you a higher rate of return, and it also gives you a higher rate of return than the whole life policy. But it also gives you some guarantees, right? So the stock market doesn't give you guarantees. I call it kind of like a hybrid between the stock market and a hybrid between maybe your regular bank, or a hybrid between another fixed investment or savings vehicle. And the reason that this matters is because when you are growing your money, that's what we do on the American Cream, we grow our money. Remember, the goal is not to save money. The goal is never to save money. The goal is to save the money so that you can put it somewhere to grow the money. When people say I'm saving money, I always say, for what? Because after you save it, you're not saving it forever. You're either going to spend it or you're going to grow it. And since we know that we're creating wealth, our goal is always to grow money. Going back to the IUL, the Index Universal Life Policy allows you to give yourself some life insurance protection, some coverage. It allows you to put money into the policy where a portion of it pays for the death benefit, a small portion of it, and then the overpayment goes to pay for, it goes into an investment account. We tie that to an index fund where we sit down and we choose the fund, and that's tied to the market. The index is tied to the market, right? So let me give you an example. Right now, and by the way, full disclosure, I am a licensed stockbroker. I'm a registered investment advisor. I'm also an insurance agent. So for everybody that's out there listening, I am not an insurance agent who does not sell, buy, and trade stocks and manage portfolios. I do them all. Like, I have all the licenses at the Henderson Financial Group. We are full service financial planning. So depending on your need, when you come into our office, we're going to structure your portfolio in a way that solves your need. But today's conversation is about whole life it's about life insurance as an investment tool, because a lot of people sleep on it. And a lot of people sleep on it because they just don't know. And then there's negative information that's out there. So if you think about an IUL, I want you to think about it like this. In the stock market, when the market goes up and you have money in the stock market, you take advantage of those gains, right? So if the stock market goes up, your account value goes up. In the stock market, when the market goes down, your account value goes down. A fixed index universal life insurance policy, which is what I'm referring to, is a fixed index universal life insurance policy, is one that when the market goes up or when the index goes up, your policy appreciates the gains. So your policy goes up. So it's tied to the market, depending on the allocations, depending on how we invested your money or how we allocate it. Allocated is divided. It's a fancy term for divided. Depending on what buckets we put your money in, you may see the cash value in your IUL go up. Perfect. We like that. Because we want to grow money. When the stock market goes down, what happens to your IUL? Does your account value now go down like the stock market? No, it doesn't. We call that upside potential with downside protection. So if you think about it, as if you're riding in an elevator. When the elevator goes up, you go up. When the elevator goes down, you stop. You're safe. When the elevator goes up, you go up again. But if the elevator gets ready to go down, you don't. You're on the side of the elevator that stays safe. So that's the difference between the stock market. One of the differences for this purpose between the stock market and an IUL. So you get to take advantage of being tied to an index, but then you also don't take the losses. So this is why we say we think outside the box, and we call the IUL the big granddaddy of life insurance, because we don't just use an IUL for pure insurance. If we want pure insurance, an IUL is not the way to be, because it costs, right? If you ask people, if you try to go to Google and say, hey, tell me about an IUL, one of the first things that you may see is that they're expensive. And I always tell people, expensive in relation to what? Right? So when people say, well, Hyacinth, IULs are expensive, I always invite you to call my office. Let's come have a sit down. Let's look at the fees and the costs associated with your IUL versus the fees and the costs associated with another investment product. And I like to compare them apples to apples, oranges to oranges, so that you can see what really is expensive. But if you're just in the market for purely death insurance, you may not need an IUL because there's a cost to it. But if you're in the market for something that is going to give you asset protection, remember we talked about this on last week's show, you're the asset. If people count on you for income, if you have children who are going to be emotionally distraught at the time of your transition, if you are a stay-at-home spouse and your spouse is the breadwinner and does all the working, and you don't go to work every day, if something happens to you, who's going to take care of the house? You're going to need to be replaced in that way. So think about yourself as an asset in different ways. Don't just think about yourself as an asset based on how much money you make. You are an asset. Well, you should be, right? So life insurance, this IUL is going to give you asset protection. It's also going to give you room to use it as an investment tool. And it's going to give you opportunity to look at long-term gains while you minimize the risk of downside as you would not in a stock market. So you're going to have the opportunity to tap into long-term gains. IULs are not for people who want to put their money in and take it out the next year. IULs are for people who want to put their money in for at least 10 years and let it do what it's supposed to do. Because you want to be able to let it ride the wave. You want to get over the expenses. You want to pay those policy expenses up front, so then the policy will then start to pay for itself. You want to take care of all of that in the beginning. So it's not something that's a quick fix. But it is good if you say, you know what? I want to plan for retirement, or I want to plan for my future without the restrictions of traditional long-term planning vehicles. When I say traditional long-term planning vehicles, I am speaking to any government-sponsored retirement plan, because while government-sponsored retirement plans may be appropriate for some people, y'all know I'm not a fan of them. I am not a fan of them, number one, because they lock your money up until you're 59 and a half. So if you want to take your money out before you were 59 and a half, you are going to have to pay a penalty. If you take your money out before you're 59 and a half, you're going to have to pay a penalty, and you're going to have to pay taxes on it. Most people don't understand that when you get into a government-sponsored retirement plan, it is tax deferred and not tax free. So what happens is all that money that you were putting in there, think about it. As a millennial, if you're 30 years old, 40 years old, 25 years old, and you want to get a head start on planning for your future, and you march down to your HR department and you put money in a 401k or 403b or TSP, all that money that you put in there, if you don't, first of all, you got to wait till you're 59 and a half to touch it. And if you're okay with that, by the time you get to 59 and a half and you get ready to touch it, the IRS is then going to have their hand out and say, every time you take money out of the account that you put your hard-earned money into, we want a piece of that. That's not the case in the IUL. So my thought is, if you're going to put money away for a rainy day anyway, if you're going to put money away for your future, for retirement anyway, why not do it in a vehicle that offers you liquidity, use, and control? We'll be right back after this commercial break.
You know, Linda, people have worked very hard all their entire lives to save what they thought was enough for retirement.
Robert, what is enough? Especially in today's volatile stock market, so many people are concerned that they just may not have enough to retire. So what can they do?
You know, all it really takes is sitting down with someone at the Henderson Financial Group to first educate you and then discuss your personal goals and objectives and working out a plan to help you succeed.
I agree. I'm Linda V. Harris, Vice President of the Henderson Financial Group and a retirement planning specialist.
And I'm Robert Henderson Jr., Certified Financial Planner, the President of the Henderson Financial Group.
What I love about us at the Henderson Financial Group, Robert, is we've helped so many people just like you, just like our listening audience, prepare for a successful and prosperous retirement.
Don't wait. Call our office today at 305-825-1444, and you'll be glad you did.
We back. All right, welcome back. Thank you for that quick commercial break. If you are just tuning in, thank you so much for joining me. You are listening to the American Cream radio show, where we show you how to redefine the American dream on your terms with Cream. That's credit, real estate, entrepreneurship, assets, and mindset. And today we are talking about assets, and the asset is you. The asset is also all the assets that you are accumulating, learning to accumulate, and how to protect them. Because one of the most common mistakes that people make is we get into this place of we finally get off the porch. We get off the porch and we're like, all right, we're not spending all our money on foolishness anymore. We're ready to grow our wealth. We're ready to build wealth. We're ready to buckle down. And we get on the path of that. But when it comes time to add that layer of protection, whether it's life insurance, car insurance, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, disability insurance, whatever it is, when it comes time to protect the asset, we freeze. We freeze up and we say, oh, no, I don't want to spend any money on that. But it really is, it can be detrimental, right? Because in a matter of a quick instant, everything that you have worked to build can just come crumbling down if you don't protect that asset. So that's where we started the conversation of insurance. This is a part 2 of last week's show when I talked about some of the other insurances. If you didn't catch last week's show live on the radio, go to my YouTube channel. The recording is up. Today we're bringing it back. It's Life Insurance Awareness Month. So we are talking about the granddaddy, the IUL. And so the IUL, I'm comparing it to using it not only just for insurance, but using it as a long-term vehicle for you to kind of flip your money, right? So I don't know if I should call it an investment vehicle because it's an insurance product. The purpose of it is life insurance. But the purpose of it is life insurance doesn't mean that we can't add some bells and whistles to it and use it as a tool. We're using it as a tool to say, hey, if I plan on sticking around anyway, and if I need some insurance in XYZ amount, how about I put it in a index universal life insurance product that is going to give me some growth and give me some death benefit protection. And the reason why we would do that is because we want to put our money in a vehicle that offers liquidity, use, and control. Life insurance is one of the major vehicles that offers liquidity, use, and control. The stock market doesn't do that. You don't have any control over the stock market, number one. You don't have any control over it, and it's not always liquid depending on what you're invested in. And the biggest thing is the control, right? That's where we get most of our calls when they come in. When the market is down, people want to call. It depends. We don't get that. As I have to admit, though, we don't get as many panicky calls anymore. I feel like we have educated our clients. We've elevated. We've come a long way so that we've elevated them. But the average American, when the stock market goes down, they start panicking. And they feel like they have no control over it. Whereas with life insurance, it offers you liquidity. It's liquid. You can take your money out when you want to take your money out, as long as you have the cash value. You have the control over the situation because we're putting it in something that does not follow the market. And so it doesn't take advantage of the losses. And then you can use it for whatever you want to use it for, right? You don't have the 59.5 stipulation that most government sponsored retirement products come with. Now, I want to say, when I say life insurance, I'm not, all life insurance isn't created equal. Let me just say there. This isn't like something that you can just Google and go to your local representative and say, hey, I heard Hyacinth on the American Cream and I want that life insurance that is going to help me build wealth. Because unless your agent has really sat down and educated himself or herself and learn how to build that souped up Honda Civic that's going to blow the next Honda Civic out the water at that red light, then you may get into a product that doesn't operate the way that you need it to operate. I remember a few months ago, maybe it was sometime last year or so, my dad, shout out to my dad, founder, Mr. Robert Henderson Jr. of the Henderson Financial Group. I wonder if you all can tell I'm a daddy's girl. Yes, I am. And my daddy's going to be 61 on September 22nd. I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around that. He's going to be 61 years old. I feel like he was just like 30 and now he's going to be 61, but he's doing well with it. But anyway, about a year ago or so, he was complaining that he was having some numbness in his fingers. So, me, I'm like, you need to eat more green vegetables. Anytime my dad or my children tell me something is wrong, I'm like, you need to eat more green vegetables. You need to eat more vegetables, drink some water, you'll be all right. So he did that. And then I found a chiropractor. I started sending him to the chiropractor 3 times a week. Go to the chiropractor. You got a nerve. Like I'm Googling him. I'm being Dr. Google for him because he's my daddy. So I'm sending him to the chiropractor and he's going 3 times a week and everything like that. And his fingers are still tingling. And so Google said it was some major issues. He was almost ready to transition. I'm like, not my daddy. I'm not ready for him to go yet. And then one of our clients, shout out to Miss Martinez, she said, Robert, that sounds like a vitamin D deficiency. So he went and he got some 500 milligram vitamin D, took it for 3 days, and his fingers was fine. So this is after all the green vegetables, the water, the chiropractor, and everything like that. He needed some vitamin D, right? Because his vitamin D was low. And for most melanated people, your vitamin D is low as well. So unless you're spending lots of time in the sun, you probably want to look into getting a vitamin D supplement. But the point is, we try to Dr. Google him and diagnose him, and it wasn't the case. That's not how, it didn't work. Right. So when I talk about life insurance, this isn't something that you can just say, okay, Hyacinth said we need this. I'm going to go on Google and go to my agent and just get an IUL. You need to work with someone who knows how to build the IUL for your benefit. You need to work with someone who knows how to structure your life insurance policies, even the whole life policy that I was speaking about before. We use the whole life policies. We do some amazing things with whole life and index universal life insurance. With insurance in general, we do some amazing things with it because we understand that just like credit, just like money, it's a tool. It's not the end all and the be all. It's not, okay, we just need life insurance just, for the event that when we transition. We're going to use this and find out how to freak the system so that we can use it and get the most bang for our buck. So as I was saying, all IULs aren't created equal. All restaurants don't do a good job just because they say they serve steak or they serve Brussels sprouts. I wanted Brussels sprouts today for lunch. They had bacon. I'm like, how y'all missing the Brussels sprout with bacon like that? But it's not equal. I can go to another restaurant that has the best Brussels sprouts in town. It's the method and way that they prepare them. The same thing with an IUL. It's the method and the way that you prepare the IUL to fit your goals and to your personal situation. So that's one of the things that you want to make sure you're looking at when you are setting yourself up to redefine the American dream with Cream. You got to put yourself in a position to where you're tuned in, tapped in. And what you want to know from your advisor is, hey, how are you going to help me make my money work for me? Because I don't want to just say I need life insurance and you just give me pure life insurance. I want to have the conversation whereas you ask me, what are my goals? What are my objectives? My question is, how can I get a whole lot of bang for my buck? How can I use one product like a Swiss Army knife? How can I use it for multiple uses? I don't want to just use life insurance for life insurance. And that's with anything in life. You want to make sure you can use it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And so that's why I preach and I teach the importance of protecting your assets. But while you're protecting your assets, you're also allowing you to build and generate wealth. I mean, think about it. There are only so many things that you can do to generate wealth, right? And unless you want to be trading a lot of time for dollars, we talked about entrepreneurship. One of the easiest ways for you to flip your money, the easiest ways for you to really turbocharge your assets, the assets that you're building, is number one, to protect them. And that's where insurance comes in. And since you know you got to protect your asset because you don't want, a catastrophic instance to come along and just wipe out everything that you've been building. Since you know that you have to protect it, why not take it a step further and figure out how can I protect it and also benefit from it while I'm still here? So one of the takeaways that you're going to get from today is don't look at life insurance as is for the people, your beneficiary. You need to be looking at life insurance as how am I going to flip it? How am I going to freak the system so that I can achieve my goals in a way that benefits me? And what we do, like I talked about the IUL, what the IUL policy is, we have clients put in $20K a year. We have clients put in $2,000 a month. It just really depends on their need, their financial situation. And what they start doing is building that cash value so much so that we may have them pay for like 10 years. We'll say you can put in $1,000 a month for 10 years. After 10 years, you have to put in no more money. And of course, these are hypotheticals because the IUL is not guaranteed. My ear is ringing, which y'all know I'm tuned in. So that means it's a sign, something's going on. There are no guarantees. However, there are, we look at historical data. And if you put the money in consistently every month or every year for an extended period of time, by the time you get age XYZ, depends on the illustration and your goals, this is what your proposal says you should have. And so I know people are thinking, well, Hyacinth, that's not guaranteed. You're right. It's not guaranteed because it's tied to an index, which is tied to the market. And since it's tied to the index, we don't know what the market is going to do. However, there is a fixed component to the IUL. So if the market starts getting really wonky and you don't start getting the returns that we think you're going to get, we can always slide your money over into the fixed account. And that's still better than what your local bank is paying you. So some takeaways from today. What I want you to think about is, number one, pull up your bank statement for whoever you bank with. Wherever you got $100,000 sitting in the bank, find out how much they're paying you. Maybe you don't have $100,000 sitting in the bank. Maybe you got 10 grand, 20 grand, 5 grand. The point is to figure out how much interest your money is earning. Because the key is to have your money always, always, always working for you, earning for you, doing double time. After you go and trade time for your dollars, then you got to have your dollars put in their work and then double up for you. So pull up your statements. What's your rate of return? Let's talk about it. And then after you pull up your statements and look at your rate of return, call me. Because I want to know what it is. I want to know if you're getting more than, 3, 4, 5, 10%. What are you getting from your local bank? Okay, so I want you to do that. That's your number one homework. Your number two homework is going to be to take an assessment of all your assets. We talked about assets and liabilities. We talked about the benefits, we talked about the importance of you protecting your assets. Building and growing your assets is one side of the coin. You must protect them. You must protect them. And insurance says you have to protect them before an instance happens. You can't go and try to protect them after the hurricane done hit. Now you want insurance, and now the disease or the death sentence or whatever the case may be, now you want life insurance. You can't do that. You got to kind of hedge a little bit. And so look at your assets and see what needs to be protected. We talked about disability insurance. What happens if you get sick, hurt, and can't work? Do you have disability insurance? Who's going to pay your bills? Who's going to do that? As September is Life Insurance Month, Life Insurance Awareness Month, I want you to be thinking about all the stuff that you should be doing to protect your assets. The name of the game is asset protection, it's growing your money, and liquidity, use, and control. Now, if you haven't noticed by now, at the Henderson Financial Group, we don't do, I say, this ain't your granddaddy financial planning, right? Although my pops started the firm 30 years ago, and he is a granddaddy. Shout out to Junior. He is a granddaddy. We think outside the box. We structure our financial plans, and we work with our clients in a way that we kind of keep up with the times or are futuristic. So if you're thinking about a horse and buggy financial planning, that's not what we do. We don't do horse and buggy financial planning at the Henderson Financial Group. You're going to come into our office. You're going to talk to us about how you want to achieve your goals and your dreams and your objectives. You're going to tell us about how you've been doing the same thing for the past 30 years and not getting the result that you want. And then we're going to enlighten you. We're going to empower you. We're going to educate you and show you that things have evolved, right? I remember, 20 years ago, I had a beeper. Now we got a smartphone. I think the iPhone 11 has 3 cameras on it now, like 3 cameras from what I heard. So you have to keep up with the times. You have to evolve. You have to think outside the box as you maintain the objective of reaching your goals, achieving your dreams, and doing things in a certain way. I just did a talk at the Universal Truth Center about this on Wednesday. And we talked extensively about doing things in a certain way to yield a result, and really sitting down, asking yourself, when is it time for change? When is it time for you to say, you know what they've told me isn't working? When are you going to be fed up? Or when is it time for you to say, enough is enough? I want a different result. I see all these people winning. I see all these people excelling. I see all these people. I'm hearing these stories of how this person went from something to nothing. And I look up and it didn't take a long period of time. And now they're doing this. When is it my turn? Social media is, I think, for those of you who are on social media, it's a great place for you to realize either how much you're accomplishing or how much time you are wasting. You want me to tell you how you figure that out? People be on social media having babies. They have babies, and you look up, before you know it, the kid is 5. And you're like, wait a minute. I remember this lady was just pregnant. Now the kid is 5 years old. That means I've been scrolling social media for 5 years. And how has my financial situation changed or not changed? Look at the kids on social media. It's a great way for you to check yourself. It's a great, great, great way. You can look back and say, dang, she's done all this. What have I done? Because I'll tell you what, all you must do first is decide. Once you decide that you can get your financial house in order, once you decide that you want a different result and you want to do stuff in a certain way, call us. Call the Henderson Financial Group at 305-825-1444. We've been in business for 30 years, over 30 years. We know what we're doing. We've been in business. We got a full staff, a full team. It's not just me and my father. I got a full team there. Everybody there loves what we do. If you know somebody that works at the Henderson Financial Group, you know you're in good hands. If you know that you've worked with the Henderson Financial Group, you know that you're in good hands. The way that I talk to you all on the radio, I talk to my clients the same way, because it's not about me seeming high and mighty and holier than thou and using these bold, big terms and things like that. My job and my goal is to make sure you achieve your objectives. And we have to start having the money conversation, and we got to start having it early. So think about where you are. Think about where you've been. Ask your friends and your loved ones, do they have life insurance? Ask them, do they have car insurance? I mean, the iPhone 11, I've been seeing that running around, and I am going to get the iPhone 11 because I still have the 7. And 2 weeks ago, I shattered my screen. So I'm going to get the iPhone 11, but I haven't had a new iPhone in probably like 5 years. But as you're having conversations about iPhones and things like that, let's start having conversations about insurance. Let's start having conversations about real estate. I had a client come into my office a few days ago. Today's Friday. So maybe she came in yesterday, Thursday, and she was so happy to tell me that she got her investment property. She was so ecstatic. And I said to her, I said, okay, girl, when we getting the next investment property? When are we getting the next? And she kind of looked at me, and then her eyes perked up a little bit. And then she said, well, I want to say I don't know, but I don't want to limit myself. And I said, bingo. So then we updated her objectives. We updated her goals. You put some things in place so that we can come up with a plan for her to then move right into getting her second investment property. And mind you, she rents where she lives. She rents an apartment. She doesn't own her home. She bought an investment property, and that she's still renting, and she's getting ready to mentally prepare to buy a second investment property. Why is she doing that? Because she understands that the goal is income. Y'all know how I feel about real estate. Real estate is not an asset unless you're collecting checks from it. And when you collect checks from it and you do it one time and you bite, the bug bites you and you feel good about it, let's do it again. And let's do it again. And let's maybe even do it again. And after you've done it, I would say at least 3 good times, then you can consider buying you a property so you can do backflips and your draws in. Then you can go there. But until then, keep renting your space. Keep doing that. Okay. That's how I feel about real estate. That's how you use real estate as a tool. Today is Friday, September 13th. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the American Cream radio show. I'm your host, Hyacinth Henderson. That is Hyacinth like the flower. You're listening to me live on 880 The Biz. You may be listening to me on Facebook. I appreciate you for tuning in. Today, we were talking about asset protection. It was a continuation of last week's show. Last week's show, I really got excited. I'm proud of that show. I feel like we covered a lot. I feel like it was heavy, but good. It was heavy and good. And if you didn't catch that show, I encourage you to go to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and also listen to that show because it's full of information. People write me all the time and they say, Hyacinth, oh my gosh, I watch your show. I listen to your podcast. And I've been actually implementing the information that you share, and I've seen improvements. My credit score has jumped up 30 points. I've seen improvements. I was able to buy an investment property. I've seen improvements. I was able to save XYZ money. I was able to cut some expenses. So I understand that there are people who actually do the work and then they get the results. So shout out to all of you all who write me, email me, call me and say, hey girl, hey, I know it seems like you're talking to yourself on the radio or on the podcast, but I'm actually listening and implementing this stuff. I'm listening and I'm learning and I'm implementing this stuff. Think about it. What do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. I've given you so much information. I've invited you to call my office, come into my office. If you have the radio, you got social media, and I have the podcast. The podcast is also under The American Cream. Just search The American Cream on all your podcast platforms and it'll come up. The other day I was on Spinrilla downloading a mixtape and my podcast was there. So apparently when I load it, it's on all musical platforms. So whatever you use to listen to music on, then you can access the podcast there. But the key is don't just listen to the podcast. Listen to the podcast and take the action because we got to do better. The M in Cream is for mindset. And until you get your minds right, all the information that I share with you and I give you is not going to make a difference. You have to know and believe without a shadow of a doubt that you have everything you need. I did a post about that today. You have absolutely everything you need to change your life, to change your circumstance. It is not external of you. It is not outside of you. It's inside of you. Most of you are sitting on at a minimum $1 million. At a minimum, at the very minimum, you're sitting on $1 million worth of ideas, worth of action, but you haven't shifted your mindset and gotten out of your own way so that you can actually take the steps to be able to do the things that you need to do to get your first M. Because after you get the first M, then the second and third and stuff like that starts rolling in, right? So ask yourself, what do I have to change in my mindset? Who do I have to give up to become the person that I know that I'm destined to be? That's another homework. That was a good one too. What characteristics do I have to give up? What persona do I have to let go to step into my destiny and be the person that I know that I am destined to be? That's a deep, deep question. I would invite you to journal that question because as soon as you decide and figure out who you got to lose, what part of your skin you have to shed, what part of your mindset you have to shed to be able to take this information and clean up your credit and go ahead and buy your first piece of real estate. Go ahead and launch the business. Go ahead and devote most of your time to the business. Go ahead and get serious about the business. That's the E for entrepreneurship. What do you need to do to be able to walk into that space so that you can do what you need to do? What do you need to do? What mindset shift do you have to have? Who do you have to let go of? What narrative shifts do you have to do? Because the information is there. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. All you have to do is do it. I got in the lift this morning, and I got in the lift, and I intended to do some work in the back of the lift, because when I get in the lift or an Uber, I like to imagine that's the chauffeur that I always wanted, right? And I just ain't got, right? So I got in the lift, but the guy wanted to talk. Nice guy. Shout out to Sloan out of Atlanta, Georgia. And we started having conversations. And by the time I got out of this lift, Sloan gave me a hug. We exchanged phone numbers. He's like, we have to keep in contact because of just the information and the conversations that we were having about just being better and doing better at next level and things like that. And I'm like, dang, all I was trying to do is get from the airport to this training. And I didn't even know that the conversations that we were going to have were going to be so life-changing for you and also life-changing for me. But that's exactly how this works. And we talked about the importance of talking to people. If you're one of those people who like, I don't have no friends, I don't talk to people, you're hurting yourself. Because I tell you what, whatever you're called here to do, whatever you're sent here to do, you need people to do it. You can't do it by yourself. And everything that you're praying for, everything that you're meditating about, everything that you're journaling about, you're writing these affirmations about, it is going to require you to align with other people to help you achieve your goals and your dreams. So when I ask you, what persona do you have to let go of to be able to step into a place that you can tap into your cream and really build your wealth? Some of that may be the persona that I ain't friendly or no new friends. Some of that, you might have to let that go. Like tonight's full moon, everybody's freaking out. It's Friday the 13th and it's full moon. If you're into that, you need to write that down and burn that, right? Put that on a piece of paper. The fact that you don't want to talk to people anymore. You don't have no friends. You ain't making no new friends. You can do it all by yourself. Talk about a mindset shift and get ready to go into the next moon phase and next moon cycle with a clear mind and clear thoughts so that you can elevate to the next level. You're listening to the American Cream Radio Show. I'm your host, Hyacinth Henderson. I'm a little out of the we're redefining the American dream with cream. We do it with credit, real estate, entrepreneurship, assets, and mindset. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And whatever I tell you or the information that I share, if you put it to use, you're going to find yourself in a position that you're further along. You can be further along in the next 6 months than you have been in the last 6 years by just simply shifting your mindset and doing things in a certain way. You can make 6 years worth of progress in 6 months. Test me. Try it. Try it and see. Try it. Tonight we started talking about the IUL, how to use insurance differently. We started talking about how if you want to build long-term wealth, you got to grow your money. You got to protect your assets. Most 30-year-olds I know, they don't want to put money in a 401k that they can't touch to their 59 and a half. I'll tell you one demographic group of people who is really taking advantage of the insurance game are my millennials and my Generation Xers. They're saying, Hyacinth, you know what? Being told to go to school, then go to college, take out student loans, and have to pay off this debt with a low-paying job, and then putting our money in a 401k, we don't want to do that. We've seen our parents do that. We've seen our grandparents do that. We've seen our aunts and aunties do that, and they still broke. So we don't want to do that. So let's think about something new. We want to evolve with the times and figure out what's going on. And when I say evolve with the times, it's really bringing the conversation to the forefront, because this type of life insurance has been around for a very long time. Disney World wouldn't be around without cash value life insurance. JCPenney's would not be around without cash value life insurance. You didn't know that though. They don't put that on the billboards. They wouldn't be around. They use cash value from life insurance policies to start Disney World, JCPenney's, McDonald's. All these big name corporations come from cash value life insurance. But this isn't the stuff that we talk about on mainstream TV, because on mainstream TV and in your HR department, they want to lead you down the path that is going to benefit them. Your 401k, your 403b, all that is for the employer and the government. It's not for you. I talked about this Wednesday when I did a workshop. I got so many calls and comments afterwards that said, you are absolutely right. Now that I'm in retirement, I'm thinking that this is all my money, but I can't get my money without Uncle Sam getting their money. Since we know this, and since we know taxes are inevitable, why don't we do some planning in such a way that we're going to be able to still achieve our goals of saving for the future, of preparing for the future, but in a more tax efficient way? And that's where life insurance comes along. And again, full disclosure, yes, I sell life insurance. I also sell stocks. I'm also a registered investment advisor. So I'm not one of those people who call themselves a financial advisor and they just have a life insurance license. So they're just trying to steer you towards life insurance. That's not me. I got all of them. We're going to take a quick commercial break and I'll be right back.
Hey y'all, did you know that women reaching the age of 65 are expected to live 2.3 years longer than men?
Wow, don't I know it? My friends and I talk about it quite often. And we're also less likely than men to have additional sources of income to help supplement our retirement income beyond our retirement years, Robert.
On top of that, Linda, Social Security might not be enough to cover your retirement needs or those of a loved one after you're gone.
That's why it's so important, and we keep saying it, just to give the Henderson Financial Group a call. You have to learn about ways to help supplement that Social Security income with additional monthly income.
We can tell you how to do that. I'm Robert Henderson, Certified Financial Planner, President of the Henderson Financial Group.
And I'm Linda V. Harris, Vice President of the Henderson Financial Group.
Call us today at 305-825-1444 and let us help you get started right away.
All right. Welcome back. Happy Friday again. You're listening to the American Cream Radio Show. I'm your host, Hyacinth Henderson. Each and every Friday at 6 p.m., I show you, teach you, educate you on how to redefine the American dream on your terms with cream. Because most people were never sat down to think about what the American dream was. They were told what it was, and most of us weren't even told what the American dream was. You're like, go do this and go do that. But I still haven't reached the promised land. So on the American Cream, we redefine that. I show you how to do that. I give you some tips and tricks and skills to empower you to redefine the American dream with cream. And the cream stands for credit, real estate, entrepreneurship, assets, and mindset. Please let everybody know that I'm on at 6 p.m. now. I'm getting messages saying, hey, was there a show last week at 9 p.m.? I didn't catch you on. I am on at 6 p.m. It's now 6:52. We got about 3 minutes left. So yes, the American Cream comes on at 6 p.m. Please subscribe to my podcast. There are some changes that are happening with the radio station. I may be here one day and gone the next. But if you're on my podcast, you can still keep in contact with me. The podcast is the American Cream Podcast as well. I also finally released my first book. It is a guided journal titled It Is You. It talks about mindset shifts. It talks about goal setting. It's a project that have been working on for the past, I would say maybe like 2 years, like battling back and forth. Should I release it? Should I not release it? But the books are in. I'm having the book release party on October 12th. That's a Saturday, October 12th, let's say 3 p.m. Stay close for details. Visit my website, visit me on social media, and I will put the details up. It's going to be a book release and a talk, right? So I'm thinking like maybe champagne, desserts, and we're going to sit down and just have a conversation about mindset, about money, about what you need to do to achieve your goals. We got a few months left till it's 2020. I see everybody saying their vision is so clear. It's 2020. My vision is clear. We're going to make that a reality. So save the date, October 12th. For my first book. I have since been commissioned to be an author as a part of a book anthology project. So I'm also writing another book. I'm contributing to a book anthology, and my father and I are redoing The Underground Railroad. If you have read his book, The Underground Railroad, it came out about 18 years ago. It's a classic. People call us from all over the world about that book. So what I'm doing is the audio. I'm getting it converted to Audible, so you will be able to catch that on Audible. And we are updating the version. It'll be out early 2020. So writing, lots of education. That's what we do at the Henderson Financial Group. We really pride ourselves on educating, empowering, because in my best down to earth slang and twang, y'all gonna get this money thing right. We gotta get it right, because finances is a topic of conversation that everybody should be having, yet nobody wants to have, but we all need to have. So you're gonna hear us on the radio, you're gonna hear us on the podcast. We got these books coming out, and it's all about you. Aside from you listening, I want you to take action, action, action. Visit us online. The website is www.thehendersonfinancialgroup.com. My personal website is www.hyacinthhenderson.com. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, call the office. I still answer the phone, 305-825-1444. Call me at the office. We want to make some changes. You know what's going on in the economy. You got to be prepared, right? So more than anything, you got to stay solution focused so that you can take charge. Don't wait till you have a tower moment. Don't wait until you're forced to do something. Like, do something ahead of time while you still can, so that you can put yourself in a position to be able to grow your wealth, build your wealth. Cream, you know, one of the things I talk about all the time is income. You got to put some more pots on the stove. You got to make sure you're eating. Like, if you're eating off of one check right now today, you got to figure out how to get a second check, a third check, a fourth check. That's the goal. I don't care. I don't care how big your one check is. If you only have one check and that one check is $250,000 a year, my question is, what if that check is gone tomorrow? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So you got to understand how you can create and sustain wealth that is going to be able to help you make money while you meditate. That means while you chilling, maybe you don't want to go to work. Maybe you don't have to go to work. How can you make sure all your expenses are paid without you having to go trade time for dollars? That's what Cream is about. That's what I mean about wealth. I'm not teaching you how to go work harder, be a slave to the system so that you can continue to trade time for dollars. That's not what I'm teaching you about. We got a few minutes left. If you have any questions, call in. If not, catch me next Friday. It may be the last Friday because they sold the station. We're going to see if I'm back. If I'm back after next Friday, then it's all good. If not, I'll tell you where I'm going to be. But keep up with me. 305-825-1444 is the office number. I enjoy this more than anything. I enjoy sharing the information that I get. I appreciate you all, the letters, the comments, the calls, the emails. Y'all make these bags under my eyes worth it when y'all call and show me love. All right, it's Friday in Atlanta. I will catch y'all next week. Peace.
You've been listening to the American Cream Podcast, the #1 audio production show for people who want to achieve the American dream with cream. Love this episode of the American Cream? Head over to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Thank you. For free resources and materials, go to theamericancreampodcast.com. Hyacinth Henderson is a registered representative of IFS Securities located in Atlanta, Georgia. FINRA, MSRB, SIPC. Any discussion of taxes herein is for informational purposes. You should consult with an attorney or an accountant concerning tax advice.